together. Definitely. And in this team, we had a lot. Ball is sponsored by Margaret, and the kickoff is on by Taiwan, and that's the first kick of the season. It's TBT versus Strong.
Right, they're building from the back. Because in football, you don't want to play from the back, but you see them playing from the back. One touches with the defenders, and now they're in the midfield. But of course, they're being intercepted by these.
And it's an attack from TBT. Surging forward, back to the midfield, back to the defense, to Chike. Chike gives the back to Michael.
We're here to make this football. We're here to working from the back, building from the back, confidence.
The question of the defending champions. In the free kick scenario, I don't think he's one of the rankings there. You can see Hassan leading up the ball, he shoots. 3 points, all the competition. A wonderful, wonderful game. A brilliant game by both parties. Last season semi-finalists, Dutchman.
Final. And there's a whole lot to look up to. So much to believe.
Those men are welcoming their team. The music star who was a consistent goal scorer from the 72 bench last season for Virtual FC. Number 7.
Building from their back line, back to the goalkeeper. To the far right side. To the captain of the side. To get away from the game itself. Just to tell you that the Mary belt 5-star Premier League was founded in 2019. And this is a 300 game. Historic and full with memories. So not just for the players, also for the fans.
Welcome here on the show 360 Sport on Trust TV. I'm Adeni Shafe. Always good to promote our own talented footballers there. Well, we'll be running through sporting moments in the world of sport. A lot of activities happening for Team Nigeria Paralympics. They are battle ready. They'll be starting the Paralympics games. That will be next week. Wishing them the best there. Well, we'll be starting with the story that will actually spur them into action. 2024 Paralympics, federal government announces a reward of $15,000, $10,000, $5,000 for gold, silver, and bronze medals. If they are able to do it, if you win 5K, that's $5,000. You actually, if you win bronze, rather, you collect that. And if you actually win silver, they go for $10,000 and $15,000 for gold medalists, trying to inspire the para athletes over there in Germany right now before they move to France. For the Olympics, a good one coming from the Minister of Sport Development, trying to see how they break down that money for them to see how they can do well. Nigeria will be competing in 4 different sporting moments: para badminton, para table tennis, para athletics, and also para powerlifting, where they will be trying to see how they can do it, if they can at least win gold, silver, or bronze medal. Well, joining us this hour from Akure is Isaac Afolabi to talk sport with us. Good to have you, Isaac.
Good morning. And it's always a pleasure to have you talk sports with you.
Okay, good morning there. Well, even though you're looking like one of those coaches. Good to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Okay, before you joined us, we were talking about the para athletes that are representing Nigeria. That's Paralympic team. And already they are in Germany, where they are camping before they move to Paris. But right now, as we heard, that the federal government, they've actually announced that $15,000 for gold medalists, $10,000 for bronze, rather for silver, while $5,000 for bronze medalists, just to inspire them. At least they will spur them to action.
Yeah, you see, at every international competition like this, I think the Paralympians are always the one that sometimes come back to put a smile on the faces of many Nigerians. You know, they'll just come and give us a medal. You know, I remember in previous Olympics where sometimes Nigeria did not do well, like the London Olympic, and even in Rio, anytime we call on them, anytime they have the platform, to showcase their talent to the world. I love the passion, I love the enthusiasm, I love the energy that this Paralympics always put to the table, for Nigeria. And I'm so startled will this motivation from the Minister of Sport, these Paralympians will do well for Nigeria? I'm not. I'm not this time trying to predict. I'm so certain that the Paralympians will get us a gold medal, at least in Olympics.
Okay, as they are aiming, at least we can see the training there in Jam. These are para table tennis player, the Minister of Sport Development there with them to see how they can at least add some inspiration to that team. From the way it is, our teams are ready for this, and we just hope that they would do well. We don't want to look like the way the main Olympics, actually the Summer Olympics went, and we want to see our team doing well over there in France. Looking at this amount of money that has been mentioned, yes, it's good, and it's at least will inspire them. But from the way it is, we saw that we have 4 sports. That's para table tennis, badminton, powerlifting, and also athletics. That's our strength, and that's why they decide to at least put this up. Now, one of the players that are representing Nigeria in para badminton, his name is Bolaji. Bolaji right now, she's focused to Paris 2024. Looking at that story there, para badminton, Bolaji, she's focused to Paris 2024 Olympics there. For Bolaji, she wants to do well in para badminton, and she's trying her best to see how she can focus. Isaac Afolabi, this is a sport that if you look at it, we may not be dominating in at the Olympics level, but Bolaji knows her honor in this sport, and she's ready to represent Nigeria at the para badminton over there in France.
Yeah, I think all she needs is a support. All she needs is what the minister is actually doing at the moment, being there and talking to them and physically present with them to encourage them. And that is exactly what I think every one of them need at this moment. Badminton, no doubt about it. It's one of these sports that, the Asians, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Singaporeans, and the rest of them have edge, when it comes to the game of badminton, but nonetheless, this is a different board game now. So I think what she needs now is encouragement, to go there and prove ourselves, because, for you to even qualify to play at the Olympics is a plus, and for you to compete for a medal is a plus for her. She has done it before in Africa, and this time around, she's taking another step, to Olympics, in Paris, in France. So let's give her all the support. Something better can come out of a competition.
Okay, something better can come from this particular para badminton. We're hoping that Team Nigeria will do well. They are already in Germany training for this competition, and just like we said earlier, $15,000 a month for gold medalists, $10,000 for silver, while $5,000 for bronze medal there for Team Nigeria Paralympic team over there in Germany. Well, still talking about Nigerian sports team moment, but this time around, let's go back to what happened at the Olympics, where Team Nigeria actually did not do well. We remember that has to do with Favor Ofili, and the lady actually spoke out, and the mentality is that anytime you speak out against the AFN, you are in trouble or labeled an arrogant athlete. Okagbare defends Ofili, lashes out at AFN for labeling her arrogant. From the way it is, for the fact that Ofili deemed it fit to actually complain about her predicament at the Olympics, for the fact that she was not given the chance to run at the 100-meter race, and also a lot of issues here and there concerning Athletics Federation of Nigeria. Now she's been labeled arrogant, and Okagbare, who was there before her, knows how actually the team went with the AFN. So she's supporting Ofili now, defending her for the fact that she was being labeled by AFN as being arrogant. What can you deduce from this whole scenario, Isaac?
Yeah, Adeni, I think one thing that we do not always consider in this part of the world is crisis management. I believe most times in Nigeria, while applying our own wisdom to settle things, we always apply this ego, and always add sentiment, to issues, not only in sports, even in many other things we face in the country. And to me, I think this matter is something that should not be allowed to drag for long. They should settle it. The PR should come in this time around. Now we have traveled to Paris. We came back without the medal. It's disappointing. A lot of athletes are not happy. A lot of fans are not happy. Ophelia herself, she's not happy. For me, I think what the AFN should do is not to allow this kind of discussion, this kind of tongue lashing should continue on air, because it goes far in discouraging other upcoming athletes. That's the reason why sometimes we find out that most of our athletes get discouraged and represent another country. So for them to quench this from spreading, I think they should apply some level of PR into it. Call Ophelia. This has happened, and the game is over. The next thing we should be planning for now is the LA 2028. That's the Los Angeles Olympics. That's what we should be focusing on, not going to social media discouraging some of these athletes. We have young players. Look at what happened in Paris. A lot of athletes from Nigeria representing another country, in the United States, in Germany, in Bahrain, representing Nigeria. It is not a plus to us; it's a minus. So we have a lot of them now that are even training here in Nigeria. So by the time they get some of these kind of messages, some of these kind of stories, what they'll just believe is that there's no hope for them. They'll just conclude in their mind that, okay, probably something like this will happen to me too. If it can happen to Ophelia, it can also happen to me. But what we should do now at the AFN is that they should employ the PR management skill to ensure that this is quenched and will not go further to discourage other athletes from competing for Nigeria.
Okay, good one there coming from Isaac Afolabi, making his point concerning favor of Philly being supported by Blessing Okagbare concerning the lashing coming from AFN. Well, a lot of issues has to do with Nigerian sport, but Isaac Afolabi wants to appreciate your time with us. Really appreciate you so much, always available. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk sport with you, Adeni.
Okay, good morning there. Isaac Afolabi joining us from Akure to make his point. Well, we'll be going on a short break now to let you have a feel of some cycling. By the time we return, we continue with the show. Have you back, at least letting you have some feel of cycling. They are very interesting. That's actually Abuja. You'll be wondering, is this Nigeria? It is Nigeria. We have so many moments and also places that you wonder if truly is Nigeria. That's the velodrome at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja. Now, we're talking about Olympics and what happened at the Olympics. We know that has been a painful experience for Nigerians. They just concluded Olympics here in Paris. Well, before we actually went on break, we're talking with Isaac Afolabi that joined us from Akure. But now we have someone who has been there as a minister of sport. He was there at Rio 2018. At least he was able to witness that. And for the fact that he's here live with us in the studio to buttress on Team Nigeria, Nigerian sport development, and also the Paralympics that will be coming up. A lot of this will be talking in the next 25 minutes with Barrister Solomon Dalong. He's here with us. Good to have you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay, good one. At least before you enter the studio, we're talking about Team Nigeria, a lot of issues here and there. But let's start with the Olympics. For the fact that the Olympics went and we couldn't win a medal, the Nigerians were not happy for that particular situation, and that would be with the fact that 12 billion was released. Athletes that were expecting that they would be able to give us some medals, they could not. To be a mission, Ese Brume, Philip could not run 100 meters. All of this packaged together as Team Nigeria issue. Disastrous outing at the Olympics. Your take, sir?
Well, let me congratulate those wonderful Nigerians who, under very harsh and hostile training conditions, were able to go this far for the love they have for their great country. But the Nigerian outing, I think if we were expecting anything, would be critical, because there was nothing on the ground to suggest that we were going to get anywhere. There's an adage in Hausa that says, a good Friday, the sign is seen on Wednesday. And the Honorable Minister, in preparation for Olympics, did not leave anybody in doubt that we were going to come home empty-handed. So why are Nigerians lamenting? Who did he engage in the preparation for Olympics? By the virtue of Olympics being a 4-year cycle, and our attitude to appointments of sport ministers, it is categorically clear that every minister will be a stranger to Olympics. So you can only succeed when you harvest the experiences of those who were there, because this is a global sports event. So a stranger cannot win war.
A stranger cannot win war. But at least, looking at the fact that we know that the Olympics was coming up, does it mean that we were not prepared enough that caused this particular performance of Team Nigeria, or what?
About the first time, I will have to also commend the government for proper funding of Olympics. I didn't have this opportunity when I was a minister. I traveled to Rio with my ticket. I bought my ticket as a minister because we were in recession when I was appointed. I borrowed 550 million naira from my late friend, Senator Ufan Yuba, to come, train, and move Team Nigeria to Rio. The first tranche of payment meant for preparation, training, and camping of Team Nigeria was released 4 days into Olympics. We were already in Rio before the first tranche of payment was made. But even at that, I tried to ensure that, I returned Nigeria to the medal table after a woeful crash in 2012. So, with such huge funds, the minister had no good reason not to have made Nigerians smile. So I am also as disappointed as Nigerians are.
Now, you are disappointed as Nigerians are. If you look at it, some people are looking at administrative-wise, the AFN, the NOC. We still remember the issue of favor of Philly. Philly could not run 100 meters. And a lot of blame here and there. And the minister said head will roll, although up till now, no head has actually been rolling or thereabout. But if you look at it generally, if you have to pick, aside the fact that you mentioned that the money, yes, they got the money, what could you attribute that performance of Team Nigeria to? Is it the athlete? Is it the administrator? Is it what actually went wrong?
There was no leadership, no political leadership to navigate the management of Olympics 2023. The minister who on appointment admitted that he was a farmer and knew next to sports also lacked the administrative skill to drive a ministry, because we don't need anybody who had sport experiences to manage that ministry, because we have seen the experiences of having ex-international appointed as coaches of the national Super Eagles, and they failed woefully. So it is not about having the experience, but having the administrative skill to drive and the political will to drive the ministry. And that was completely lacking. So all the blame game of AFN, NOC is just the case of a lazy workman trying to appropriate blame to his tools.
Okay. Anyway, we've been talking with Barrister Solomon Dalong there, former Minister of Sports of Nigeria, and now he's with us. And actually, we've been talking concerning Team Nigeria performance at the Olympics. Well, if you are to, let's assume you are the Minister of Sport, what would you have done differently to make sure this team was able to win medal?
Of course, I did it differently. That was why we were able to return to the medal table in 2016. What did I do different? I engaged those who were there. I was going for Olympics for the first time in my life, so I didn't know how it was. I didn't know the preparation. I didn't know what was involved. So I needed people with the experiences to provide me, guide me, and advise me. And I recruited all former ministers for their experiences, all former director generals of National Sports Commission for their experiences, retired permanent secretary who had sports biases. I engaged broadly, and even engaged with stakeholders, relevant stakeholders. I engage also the private sector, who also put a lot of money that augmented what the government could not do. So that was why we got to where we were. Even though we had crisis then, but I had to stomach it and took the responsibility, because as a leader, I couldn't have exposed Nigeria. And so I sacrificed myself and accepted that I was incompetent so that I can take the cross and become the Jesus of Aratemaye, who helped Jesus carry his cross. But the problem basically was that there were no funds, there was nothing. So I was just working without nothing. But I had to, because I had accepted to serve. So I did my best, so the minister did not do that.
the difference between the former minister that got bronze, as you remember, Team Nigeria, that football winning bronze at the Rio 2018 Olympics there. Well, we've been talking concerning Team Nigeria, even though Nigerians are not happy at all. But there is this particular situation that is very common to Team Nigeria or any sporting event that we do, preparation or early preparation. It seems that the fire brigade approach that we always are always applying doesn't go well with us. 3 months to the Olympics, that's when we begin to be like, okay, we want to go to the Olympics and everything. But some countries, they've started from the first day that they end the last Olympics, they begin to practice for days. What can we do to get this right? Early preparation is very good for Nigeria.
The enemy of early preparation in sports is greed and selfishness of the political leadership. When you are appointed a minister, you try to discard what has been on the ground, even when you don't know anything, and you want to create for yourself a niche and a reputation which does not even exist in the first place. So this is basically the problem, because every new minister will inherit a preparation on the ground, which I did. So I had to manage and improve on what I made on the ground without funds. So blaming early preparation, late preparation is not the issue. But the government too is also culpable and a criminal in this aspect. Let me use the word, because government is good at late funding of sporting events. I cannot remember when I was a minister any time that I got money on time. Even the most celebrated, revived National Sports Festival in 2018, I got funding 9 days to the event. I had to go out of my way to raise money from my impress in the ministry, going like a beggar to governors, cab in hand, and the private sector to raise money for the preparation. Because 9 days, I mean, whatever you have released would have not been enough, except who would have gone there and share it and then begin to blame Jesus for, carrying his cross before dying, and blaming Logard for amalgamating Nigeria, and then blaming Tafawa Balewa to accept to be the first prime minister. So that is just what is happening in the sports ministry.
Okay, well, for Nigerian sport, we just have to get it right. We'll be talking with Barrister Solomon Dalong concerning Team Nigeria performance at 24 Olympics. And now let's divert a bit and go deeper to Nigerian sport. This time around, we are focusing on Nigerian sport development. He was a former minister, so let's look at it. A lot of people have been saying grassroots development is the key. We need to go grassroots. We need to do this. How do we go grassroots to get the best for Nigerian sport?
Well, we are a country that do not like good people. Nigeria hates good people, and they always go out of their way to try to get a very bad name and hang on their legacies. We should not be complaining about grassroots development now. In 2015, when I came, I revived the National Youth Sports Festival. Most of the athletes you are hearing their names, they've been patronized today, were product of either the
youth games.
Yes, the National Youth Sports Festival in 2016, 2017, or 2018, which I sustained until I left office. I was told last year that 150 students, product of the National Youth Games in America under scholarship in sports. So it is not that this is lacking. But you see, the administration of the National Sports Federation has not been what I left on the ground. I identified this problem and came up with a solution, which was the democratization of the National Sports Federation. Allow them to elect popular leaders to lead their affairs. Let them draw their constitution that can hold their leaders to account, so that they'll be able to manage to account for funds received from international counterpart funding and the national federations. But immediately I left office in search of reputation and good name, that particular policy was abandoned, and ministers now begin to appoint board members of the national federations, and you have a committee of concubines, associate, political friends, family members being appointed into national federations. And these are people who knew next to nothing. They only saw the appointment as political appointment. So how will you expect grassroots sports development? Why do you want to reap where you didn't sow? And why do you abandon what is right to continue on chasing shadow, to be on blame game? I think it's unnecessary.
So automatically, what you are saying right now is right thing should be done for us to have it right in at the grassroots level. Talking about democratically electing people that are technocrats or that knows their onions when it comes to sport development.
That is key, and it is the best practices globally. The progress recorded between 2016 and 2019 is attributable to this. I left office in 2019 with Nigeria as African champions in 10 sports. 10. Today, Nigeria is either champions in 1 or 2 or 3 at most. I qualified Nigeria for the World Cup without the 10 billion jumbo presidential task force. Today, Nigeria cannot dream of smelling where the World Cup competition is. Already we are at the bottom of the table now, and it will take the grace of God for us to take last in this current competition. So since I left office, Nigeria has never smelled the World Cup. I left on ground a comprehensive handing over note with a report, a sports reform on the ground, that every minister who wants to succeed had tools already available for him to work. So nobody has any reason to complain.
Well, a big one there for Nigerian sport to develop. We really need to let the right people be at the end of affairs there. Round Peggy Round Hole, coming from Barrister Solomon Dalong, who has been with us in the studio. And now we're still talking about sport development in Nigeria. And now, I still remember the minister before the current minister came up with 10-year master plan of sport development in Nigeria. And it seems right now that is not no longer in use, kind of.
Well, he also inherited a sports development program on the ground, which he abandoned. So this very minister too had only copied his attitude. So you see, in leadership of a country, yourself is irrelevant. It's not important. The country is the most important thing. So we do things not because we wanted to please anybody, but we do things because of the country. So the 10-year development plan was just a caricature of the existing development plan on the ground, which the minister inherited. And it goes to this self-seeking ambition of ministers to try to prove that, they were something. It's not about you being something. It's about the country. So the 10-year development plan is just like plaiting a very fine hair, but on lice-infested head, because the issue was not the development plan, but the political will to hold leadership accountable, in their various positions.
Well, as it is right now, Nigerian sport, we just have to get it right if you are to continue to win medals. Well, let's leave that aside. As we speak right now, Team Nigeria Paralympics are already in Germany, camping there. They'll be going to France for the Paralympic Games. We have Nigerian athletes competing in 4 different categories of sporting moment. And just yesterday, news came out that if they can win gold, $15,000, $10,000 for silver, and bronze for $5,000, coming from the federal government. The Minister of Sport has been with them. And from the way it is, the athletes, just to boost the morale of the athletes, do you think that at least this can at least spur them into action to see how we can get a medal from these Paralympics?
Well, if there had been no proper coordination among the major players in the sports sector, it will go to nothing. Because the in-house fighting that went on in Paris between Nigerian National Olympic Committee and then the national federations and the ministry had not been addressed. So it's likely going to be carried again to this level. And these promises, as good as they were, how prepared are these athletes to compete? Take it that in international competition, before you go for Olympics, you have performances already of people you are likely going to meet, because the world is a global village. So we should have monitored and know what is the performances of our athletes? Is it more than those that we're going to beat, or do we need to improve slightly, which camping is necessary? So this issue of the promise had been there. I introduced it in 2016, but then it was $5,000 for gold, $3,000 for silver, $2,000 for bronze. And why it succeeded was I didn't release such funds to anybody, but I pay the winning athletes directly. And I returned from Paralympics with the highest number of gold in Nigeria. And when I was appointed, the aggregate medal ever won by Nigeria since we started competing was 200. I left it at 1,800. So doing this now raises a lot of questions. They need to put their house in order first. I mean, the major stakeholders, because they are fighting themselves. It's not yet out there, but it's reflecting or reflected in the way the athletes who are not registered on time, the borrowing of bicycles, all forms of embarrassing situation. This is evidence of the internal war going, and I think it's not unconnected with the huge 12 billion that was released. So they need to address this before this promise will take good effect.
Okay, now before we wrap it up, looking at Nigerian sport generally now, Super Eagles coach is yet to be announced, and we have March in September. As it is, a lot of Nigerians are also worried that what is happening. Some are saying the Ministry of Sport, some are saying federal government, some are saying the NFF. Different names have been mentioned, but just to get it right, as a former minister and as someone who actually has been there at the saddle of power, what can you advise that we can do to just get Nigerian sport on the right track?
Well, the federal government must also be honest with itself and be clear as to what it intends to achieve in the sports industry. The sports industry is a mega business industry. It is going to be the next civilization after the high-tech civilization. And Africans are going to be the bride of the next civilization. But if we move the way we are moving, Nigeria is not likely going to be lit in the next civilization. It is the highest employer of labor after the high tech now. Sports is an industry that in less than a day, it can produce a millionaire. So we can use sports to tackle most of the mirage of unemployment that is confronting this country. And when I was a minister, I kept telling the governors, give me 30% of your budget and you don't need to budget of security vote. And you don't need any problem again. I promise you that if there was any insecurity in your state, hold me responsible. Because I knew the magic in dealing with insecurity when these young people are engaged. So if Nigeria must get it right, the government must be honest with a definite policy. Number two, we need a legislation to regulate sport. As we are talking, there is no legislation regulating the sports sector. So the sports sector is just like Gaza. Israel is there, Hamas is there, Hezbollah, Gorilla are firing, they are distant from there. Every interested party is fighting. The sports industry is like Gaza as it is now, because there is no law regulating. You want me to invest in a sector that the guarantee of my investment is not there, my interest is not defined. So we need a piece of legislation to define this, and it is only the federal government and the National Assembly that will do this, because the National Assembly had always killed the initiative. I started one, it was at the point of even having concurrence, it was killed. So we need that. And then finally, we must go back to the democratization of the national federation. Anybody who must be a president of a nation must be elected popularly by the Congress of the federation from their constitution, so that they can hold him accountable. Once he misbehaves, they remove him and replace him with another person. This is the only way sports is driven globally. But this please my friend, please my brother, and coming back to sit down and lament like a Jeremiah who after this thing is unacceptable.
Okay, we've been with Barrister Solomon Dalong there, who has been with us in the studio concerning Nigerian sport development. It's a big one because we just have to get it right. Sports can really turn things around in this country. We take it serious, the way we budget money for other ministries. Let's see, Ministry of Sport Development and also grassroots sport development as another means to fight insecurity or all the social vices across Nigeria. Coming from Barrister Solomon Dalong there, we want to appreciate your time with us in the studio. Thank you so much.
And maybe my final take will be that, I mean, the three ministers in the ministry, which I was alone, should be ashamed of themselves. Because I managed that ministry alone. Now there are three people there, yet we cannot make progress.
Well, that's it coming from him there. We just continue to hope that Nigerian sport will get to the right pedestal for us to get it right. Round peg, round hole set of administrators and athletes getting the welfare package good enough. Not forgetting facilities to be developed, and also going deeper to let those who actually have the talent to go into sport and give you the chance to represent Nigeria. That will be it on the show of this hour at 360 Sport. Once again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, good one. I'm Adeniyi Ajishafe. Sport is always business and fitness. We leave you with this, and thanks for watching.